Good evening and welcome to Tampa City Council Evening Agenda, held this day, October 27th, 2022. Mr. Shelby, we don't have to go through that again, do we?
We'll do it very, very quickly. I don't even see it on the agenda.
I don't either.
But I know it's on the notice, and I know it's in the instructions. It's at the instructions for Communications Media Technology, or CMT.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
And to those people at home who are participating on a communications media device, my name is Martin Shelby, City Council Attorney. This evening, October 27th, 2022, we're at the 501 meeting, and the instructions for communicating via a CMT device is on the City Council's website at tampa.gov/City Council. It's also in the notice, and to adopt the CMT rules, I ask that you waive the rules and adopt those.
Second. First, we need to have a roll call. I apologize.
Carlson, Vieira, Maniscalco, Pertak, Goobs, Miranda,
Here.
Citro.
Here, we have a motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye. Motion to open items 1 through 9.
A motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Yes, we're going to have housekeeping. Ms. Barnes?
Good evening, Council. Annie Barnes, Development Coordination. There are several items to clean up tonight on the agenda. The first agenda item is item number 4, AB 22209. The applicant is requesting a continuance to be heard at the December 8th, 2022 public hearing at 5:01 p.m.
Move to continue item 4, AB 2-22-09 to the December 8th, 2022 hearing.
This is the first continuance?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone in council chambers that wishes to speak to this continuance only? Seeing none, we have a motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Goods. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And the next item is item number 9, REZ 22101. The petition was not properly noticed. Can you
Move to
please
remove item
from the
number
agenda?
9, REZ-22-101.
This is their first misnotice.
Correct.
Correct. Motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Goods. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Barnes. Agenda item number 1, which is file number BF 2277365.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and Council. McLean Evans, Assistant City Attorney. Agenda item number 1 is the first of 2 scheduled public hearings for a proposed brownfield area designation of the property located at 2101 West Main Street. City of Tampa is requesting designation of this property as a brownfield area to assist in the assessment and remediation of environmental impacts that may exist on the property. Evidence of benzopyrene and arsenic have been found, and details on that are provided in the site report entitled Staff Report on Main Street Park Proposed Brownfield Area Designation, which is both available for public review in the city clerk's office and on the SIRE site. No actions required by City Council today, except to hold the hearing and accept public comment. At the conclusion of the second public hearing, which is scheduled for November 17th, Council will have an opportunity to adopt a resolution designating Main Street Park a brownfield area. Both staff and I are available if you have any questions.
Any questions? Councilman Maniscalco.
Is this the parcel that was a park that we acquired recently, the Freedom of Speech Park?
I don't know that that was the title. It was a recently acquired park, previously used as a private park, about 0.23 acres.
Yeah, no, it's the one, then, thank you.
Okay.
Did you read it?
Yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
Any other comments or questions? Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to agenda item number 1, file number BF 22-77365? Thank you.
We're closed. Second. We gotta find anybody in the
We go out?
online, anyone?
No one's registered. No one's registered for anything tonight. Nothing. Nada. Nico. Zip. Zilch. Zero.
They must not like you.
We have a motion to close by Councilman Miranda, seconded by Councilman Goods, was it?
Yep.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you, Council.
Agenda item number 2, file number CIP and CIS 2023 through 2027.
Good evening, council members. Melissa Dickens, Planning Commission staff. This item is the annual update to the capital improvements section schedule of projects. This comes before you each year. It's required by state statute. And I am filling in for Diego Guerra on our team this evening. Again, Chapter 163 requires that those projects within the city's CIP that affect an adopted level of service be updated annually in the comprehensive plan. This amendment would replace the existing scheduled projects within the plan. Projects are categorized in terms of how they affect an adopted level of service, and this update is accomplished by ordinance. This table shows the list of capital improvement section schedule of projects that are proposed to be added within the comprehensive plan. There is a total of 122 projects affecting a broad range of city infrastructure and facilities planning across the city. Further information on these projects is also available in the staff report in your packet. This table shows how these different projects are categorized. You can see the 2 largest areas are to address an existing deficiency or to replace an existing facility. And this breaks down how city staff has categorized the various projects. Having a hard time with the Elmo tonight. Planning Commission staff reviewed the proposed schedule of projects for consistency with the goals, objectives, and policies in the comprehensive plan. Staff found the proposed schedule of projects consistent with coastal management objectives and policies, limiting projects and expenditures in the coastal high hazard area. Also consistent with the adopted capital improvement section, objectives and policies related to the priorities for the schedule. And then also found that the projects within the schedule furthered specific infrastructure related direction within the comprehensive plan for potable water, stormwater, mobility, recreation and open space, and solid waste. And your Planning Commission found the FY23 through FY27 CIS schedule of projects consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the Tampa Comprehensive Plan and recommends adoption this evening. I'm available if there are any questions.
Any comments or questions? Seeing none, is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to agenda item number 2, file number CIP and CIS 2023-2027?
Second.
A motion closed by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilman Carlson.
So I'd like to move file number CIP and CIS 2023-2027, ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, ordinance amending the Imagine 2040 Tampa Comprehensive Plan Capital Improvement Program and Capital Improvement section by replacing the Capital Improvement Program and the Capital Improvement section schedule of projects with the Capital Improvement Program and Capital Improvement schedule of projects for fiscal year 2023 through fiscal year 2027.
Councilman Carlson. It's a substitute ordinance.
Yeah, thank
I
you.
don't believe we have, we don't have it on our,
It was on the,
we don't have it on ours.
Yeah, we have a different one.
We don't have it on our draft. I mean, on our.
Okay, so I just read
approved
this.
online,
Okay,
it was.
I'd like to move, Yep, I'd like to move file number CIP and CIS 2023-2027. This is item number 2, substitute ordinance being presented for first reading consideration. Ordinance amending the Imagine 2040 Tampa Comprehensive Plan Capital Improvement section by replacing the fiscal year 2022 through fiscal year 2026 capital improvement section schedule of projects with the fiscal year 2023 through fiscal year 2027 capital improvement section schedule of projects, providing for appeal of all ordinances in conflict, providing for severability, providing effective date.
A motion made by Councilman Carlson, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. Are we using, no, roll call vote.
Should we make copies of that?
Miranda, Hurtak,
Yes.
okay, Miranda,
Yes.
Hurtak,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Goods,
Yes.
Vieira, Maniscalco, Central.
Yes.
I got called manicotti.
All right, she got to the first round, all right.
Motion.
All right.
Delicious,
Say it for her, say it.
Motion carried unanimously. Second reading and adoption will be held on November 17th, 2022 at 9:30 a.m.
You should say it for her, so she,
Oh, Maniscalco.
and if you do Vieira and Miranda together, it's veranda.
One cannot make a motion and second it, okay? All right, anyone who is going to be giving any testimony or be speaking to any of the other quasi-judicial cases, would you please rise to be sworn in? Thank you. Agenda item number 3. File number REZ 22-124. Ms. Barnes.
Good evening, Council. Annie Barnes, Development Coordination. Item number 3 is REZ 22-124. It's to rezone property located at 1701 East Bush Boulevard. The request is to rezone from IG to CI. I'll turn over the presentation to the Planning Commission.
Good evening, Emily Phelan, Planning Commission staff. The subject site is located within the University Planning District and the Sulphur Springs neighborhood. The closest transit stop is located on the northeast corner of the subject site. Rowlett Park is the closest recreational facility located 0.4 miles southeast of the subject site, and the site is not located within an evacuation zone. The subject site is here and it's outlined in purple, and the transit stop previously stated is about right here. The site interfaces East Bush Boulevard and the CSX Railroad runs right here. To the east and north of the subject site are a mix of commercial intensive and industrial general uses, and to the southwest of the site are single-family uses as well as a multifamily complex. This is the adopted future land use. Again, the subject site is here. The subject site has a light industrial designation. The community commercial 35, which is the red designation here, is to the north. Light industrial is to the east, and also follows Bush Boulevard on the south side. And then the orange color is residential 10 that surrounds the site. Planning Commission staff reviewed the application and found no adverse impacts to the surrounding neighborhood. Commercial intensive zone parcels are to the north and east of East Bush Boulevard. While there are existing single-family detached dwellings and multifamily uses to the southwest of the subject site, the CSX Railroad provides a buffer between the proposed commercial intensive zoning and the residential uses. The rezoning will allow better utilization of the land that is consistent with the anticipated under the LI designation and ensures employment opportunities are available for the city's population. Due to the presence of the commercial intensive zoning in the immediate surrounding area, Planning Commission staff finds the request comparable and compatible with the surrounding area and is consistent with the development pattern under the light industrial designation. This concludes my presentation. Do you have any questions?
Any comments or questions?
Annie Barnes, Development Coordination. Just to continue on what Emily already stated, the request is to rezone from IG to CI for 1701 East Bush Boulevard. I'm going to show the site again on the Elmo. As you can see, there are some residential uses in the area, but the railroad breaks up the industrial and residential uses. The site is approximately 7.15 acres in size, so it's quite large, and is currently undeveloped. There are a mixture of commercial, industrial, and residential uses in the immediate area. The proposed rezoning of CI will act as a buffer between, and a transitional zoning between the residential zoning to the west and south, and more intense industrial use to the east. So this is a picture of the site south of Bush Boulevard. And then directly north of the site is also zone CI. And then directly east of the site, and you can actually see the site, part of the site right in the picture here, there's that industrial use. And further along east, Bush Boulevard. Based upon the existing development pattern, staff finds the request consistent. I'm available for any questions.
Councilman Goode.
Hey, is that the old hotel site?
I'm not sure. I know it's vacant now. I'm not sure if years prior it was a hotel. I do know that the applicant.
That is, yeah, the real Qatar, yeah.
It's my understanding the applicant is proposing to build a hotel and restaurant there.
That's what it was. If it was that lot, that's what it was before.
Okay. So.
Councilman Maniscalco.
I was gonna ask Councilman Miranda, where was the old Seawolf? Was it further down? Okay.
Right next to the new one.
All right, no, that's what I
Further
figured.
It was, the new Seawolf was on 40th Street and across the street from the parking lot from Busch Gardens.
Okay, all right, thank you.
If I may, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Thank you.
Councilman
And
Brianna,
this is
Vieira.
of no relevancy yet, but the Seawolf, I believe that building now, if memory serves me right, is a pawn.
Pawn shop, the
It's a
front of
pawn
it is, the
shop.
backside, it was your very, very large piece of
I
property.
went there with my parents a few times when I was like very young, but maybe too young, who knows, but.
All right, Mr. Gene Holloway.
Excuse me.
Yes, the only one
Hey,
that's vacant.
Joe Eugene Hudson Holloway.
Excuse me, Eugene Hudson, Eugene. Any other further comments or questions? Thank you, Ms. Barnes. Petitioner.
Good evening, council. Name is Jairus Barbie, land use planner with Avid Group, address 10117 Kingsbridge Avenue, Tampa, Florida, 33626. Thank you for allowing us to be here today and getting us on the agenda so quickly, staff. We really appreciate that. I'd just like to say I agree with everything as staff has presented, and we look forward to moving forward with the development of this vacant piece of property. And as the commissioner did ask earlier, this site was previously a hotel use. So several months back, we came back and attended a pre-application meeting for a concept plan that we had put together for hotel use and restaurant out front. And this was the method that was told forward for us to come forward and with this development,
Good place for it?
with the rezoning. So if anyone has any questions, or if not, I'll
Any comments or
reserve my
questions?
time.
Seeing none, is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to agenda item number 3, file number REZ 22-124?
Move to close, second.
I have a motion to close by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Councilman Vieira.
Move item number 3, ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, ordinance rezoning property in general vicinity of 1701 East Bush Boulevard in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification IG industrial general to CI commercial intensive, providing an effective date. I find that the applicant has met its burden of proof to provide competent substantial evidence that the rezoning is consistent with the comprehensive plan and code and city code. And I further adopt the findings and reasoning of the planning commission and city staff reports, all of which I incorporate here in my remarks.
We have a motion made by Councilman Vieira, seconded by Councilman Miranda. Roll call vote.
Hurtak,
Yes.
Carlson. Yes. Goulds,
Yes.
Vieira.
Yes.
Manicosco,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Central.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously. Second reading, adoption will be held on November 17th, 2022 at 9:30 a.m.
Thank you. Thank you. Agenda item number 5, file number AB 22-17. Okay. Thank you. Ms. Barnes.
Annie Barnes, Development Coordination. Item number 5 is AB 2217. The request for is an alcoholic beverage sales at 951 East 7th Avenue. The request is for a restaurant, beer, wine, and liquor consumption on premises only. This site is located within a mixed-use corridor in zone YC5, which is general commercial. The distance for separation requirement is 250 feet from other AB sales establishments and residential uses. The applicant is asking for several waivers. One, to the distance separation waiver, there's residential use within 3 feet. And then to reduce some transportation-related code items. So to reduce the number of parking spaces from 15 to 3, and to reduce, 15 to 3, sorry. So development coordination, transportation, and solid waste all found the request inconsistent. However, it's my understanding that the applicant, if approved, plans to come in compliance with the solid waste related items. That concludes, oh, you need some pictures. Shown here is the site. And you can see this was Lily White Court, the area around here. So this is the subject property. It's directly north east, looking towards historic Ybor.
Mr. Chairman?
Councilman
Ms.
Goode.
Ms. Annie, go back to the first, so I can see the site again. Is that the old cleaners there, the new taco place? Yeah.
There's a laundromat in the same building. Continuing. This is west of the site and directly south and east. So I'm available if you have any questions.
Any comments or any questions? Thank you, Ms. Barnes. Petitioner.
Good evening, Council. My name is Jane Graham, attorney and founder of Sunshine City Law, 737 Main Street, Suite 100, Safety Harbor. I represent Nicole Thompson in her application for an on-premises consumption of beer, wine, and liquor at Los Chapos Tacos, located at 951 East 7th Avenue in Ybor City. Los Chapos Tacos, can you see the, can you see it? All right. Los Chapos Tacos is a well-loved taco restaurant in Ybor City. It's a woman-owned business founded 2 years ago, known for its birria tacos and authentic Mexican-style food. Allowing a wet zoning for Los Chapos is complementary and compatible to the surrounding properties. It is zoned YC5 General Commercial for retail and commercial service operations to serve residents of the immediate area. And it's actually right by and within walking distance of the recently approved Gasworks development, which was heard just by this council in August, which is a transit-oriented multifamily residential and retail development, a place to live, work, and play. There's also a history of alcohol sales in this shopping center. In 2007, the City Council approved Ordinance 2007-195 to allow sales of beer and wine for consumption off premises at the convenience store in Suite D. This convenience store has since closed. You have several letters from individuals in the city supporting this application, and I have some more to enter into the record tonight, if I may. Madam Clerk? Thank you. My client is asking for a parking waiver and a residential use waiver. This application meets the general standards as required under section 27-129A for a special use permit. I also have a photo of the enclosure around the existing dumpster, which had been added to comply with the solid waste issues that had been brought up by staff. I'm here if you have any questions, and thank you very much. And before we close, I'd like you to hear from Nicole Thompson herself, who has a few words.
Hi, my name is Nicole Thompson, and I stand before you asking for the AB2 license to improve my business and the request of my customers. I have been coming to Ybor since I was 18, and my love for Ybor has never stopped. I knew I would have a business here one day, and when I opened Los Chapos Tacos 2 years ago, I had no idea how fast we would grow and how many people close to Tampa and hours away would love our tacos. Our following has grew to almost 50,000 followers in 2 years. I am actually working on opening my third Los Chapos Tacos next month in Brandon. I was standing before you in August in favor of the Gasworks project, and I am looking forward to being a place to go for the people who will live, work, and play in our neighborhood. I want to grow with Ybor, and I'm asking for this license to help my business grow and offer the same things as the other restaurants have. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me.
Any comments or questions?
Chairman,
Councilman Goode.
the parking issue. You asking for a parking waiver, is it 3 parking spaces?
Yes, sir.
How many spaces are there now?
There are 3? Yeah, there's 3 right now. And just to give a little background on that, Ms. Thompson has tried to work this out with other property owners in the area as far as, talking to a parking garage, talking to someone by a school, and, she's had discussions, but she hasn't been able to work anything out. She actually did have a conversation with Daryl Shaw, who said that once Gasworks comes online, it's likely that, they'd be able to work something out. But in the meantime, I think she'd like to get things moving. And also the laundromat has closed.
Oh, it has?
Yeah.
Any other further comments or questions? Is the laundromat part of the same complex?
Yes. Yeah, it's in the same
Has she
shopping
worked
center.
out a deal with the landlord of the same complex to be able to park in all those places there?
Absolutely, yes. I mean, she
Has worked out a contractual agreement.
is it a contract? It's actually written, or you have?
How many seats are in the restaurant?
63.
No. I think it's like 40,
Like 40, or there are 40?
a little over 40.
So that would, if people got together in one car, there'd be 10 cars.
Typically, people walk from Ybor.
Thank you. Councilwoman Hurtak.
How long has your business been open?
2 years.
Thank you.
But I owned the convenience store prior to that.
Okay, thank you.
Ah,
Any other comments or questions? Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak to agenda item number 5, file number AB 22-17? A motion to close by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Vieira. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Councilman Maniscalco.
Before I read the ordinance, how late are you open?
11.
11 o'clock. Okay, so I can see where you'll get a later night crowd walking down 7th Avenue. So I have an ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, ordinance approving a special use permit S2 for alcoholic beverage sales restaurant, consumption on premises only, and making lawful the sale of beverages regardless of alcoholic content, beer, wine, and liquor, on that certain lot, plot, or tract of land located at 951 East 7th Avenue, Tampa, Florida, is more particularly described in Section 3, providing that all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict are repealed, repealing ordinance number 2007-195, providing an effective date, and with the waivers that were requested, specifically the distance separation, I believe, and the parking.
Motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. Roll call vote.
Golds,
yes.
Vieira,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Hurtak,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously. Second reading, adoption will be held on November 17th, 2022 at 9:30 a.m.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 6, file number AB 22-18.
Annie Barnes, Development Coordination. The next case before you is AB 2218 for alcohol beverage sales for large venue, beer, wine, and liquor, consumption on premises, and package sales off premises consumption. The property is located at 3924 West Spruce Street. It previously did have a alcohol beverage sales license for a large venue for consumption on premises and package sales. However, this is adding liquor. The approximate AB sales, or the AB sales area is 49,660 square feet, which is the same size as it was previously. It's located within a mixed-use quarter, and the distance separation is 250 feet from other AB sales establishments and residential uses. The applicant is requesting a distance separation waiver to a residential use that is 91 feet away. This request was previously requested as well. And I'm just going to show you the site. And staff is inconsistent based on that waiver. So this is the site here, south of Spruce Street. It's on the corner, and then further along.
Ah, now I see it now, okay.
Give evidence.
Oh, sorry, and then this is north of the site. and east of the site. And south of the site, with partially having the site in the photo. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions or comments? Petitioner.
Good evening, Council. Chris Berg with the Law Offices of Gray Robinson, 401 East Jackson Street, 2700. I'm here with Julia Mandel representing the applicant. The application concerns Cigar City Brewing, Spruce Street Brewery and Tap Room. The application requests an AB sales permit under the 4 COP classification, which allows for the sale of beer, wine, and liquor for consumption on premises and package sales off premises. In addition, they plan to operate a craft distillery on site. This is consistent with the microbrewery that currently operates there. As you can see on staff report, the applicant's not seeking any alteration to the sale area or hours of operation, parking, or any other aspects of the previously approved plans, and this includes the waiver previously mentioned. The only change the applicant is seeking is to allow the sale of liquor for on-premises consumption and package sales. The applicant is seeking the 4 COP permit because it wishes to alter its operation to include the craft distillery. The site is zoned commercial intensive. The operation of a craft distillery is permitted within the CI zone. Staff found that the application needs only minor corrections to the site plan between first and second reading, and we plan on making those corrections. We spoke with staff, and we'll also be adding the craft distillery use in the use table between first and second reading. The applicant, Mr. Espinoza, has made himself available to answer any questions regarding the sale or the operation of the business, and I'm here to answer any questions as well.
Any comments or questions? Mrs. Berger, you answered one of my questions. I was under the assumption that this is a microbrewery. And my next question was going to be, why does a microbrewery need to sell alcohol? But now you're telling me that they have now become a microbrewery / distiller.
They plan on it, so this is...
They plan on it?
Yes.
Okay. Because you do realize we grant this and it goes with the property, not with the owner.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Ms. Barnes.
Annie Barnes, Development Coordination. I did receive an email a few days ago from the applicant to add that additional use for craft distillery, which is allowed in the CI zoning district. So that would just need to be added if approving the application between first and second reading.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to agenda item number 6, file number AB 22-18?
Second.
Motion to close by Councilman Miranda, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor?
Aye.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. If I could just inquire, does that change the title?
Annie Barnes, Development Coordination. Yes, that's changed the title in the use table as well.
Could we reopen the hearing then?
We have to reopen
Move to
the hearing, so I
reopen.
can make clear what the
Move to reopen
issue
hearing,
is.
a hearing made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye. And ultimately, it's up to the city, I'm sorry, Julia Mandel with law firm of Gray Robinson, 401 East Jackson Street. I just want to clarify that issue, and it's ultimately up to the city attorney as to whether the title needs to change. What is in front of you from an alcohol perspective is the sale of alcohol, which is now, according to this application, to include the sale of liquor. The current use of the property as a microbrewery and the prospective use of the property as a craft distillery is not required from a liquor license perspective, but it is being added to the site plan so that there's no confusion down the line as to what has been approved. I don't necessarily know that it needs to change the title. We can leave that up to the city attorney's office to opine on, but also by way of background, this is about I think this is the third time this has come back because it's changed iterations of being just a microbrewery where you didn't have the same things, you didn't have the same provisions in the code, and has moved into a restaurant, and now has moved into the restaurant, which the inclusion of a distillery as part of the activities, but also the sale of whatever comes out of the distillery, which is liquor over a certain percentage. So I don't think it needs to change the title, but I don't get to make that call. That's ultimately up to this city attorney, but I just wanted to give some of the background too, since I've been involved in this for a while.
Mr. Chairman, may I inquire, please?
Yes, please. Ms. Mendel, please don't go away.
Well, either this question or for Ms. Barnes, I don't have the staff report pulled up in front of me. Did the staff report contemplate liquor as part of the review by the LDC?
Oh, if you want to go.
Annie Barnes, Development Coordination, yes, so it did include liquor.
Okay, thank you for the record. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Mandel, me personally, it doesn't make a difference to me that this is becoming a cane distillery or not. My question was, why does a microbrewery sell alcohol? And it was answered because it's now possibly becoming a cane distillery. However, this goes with the land, not the owner. If for some reason the owner decides to sell, this could become some mega liquor store. It would still have to change use a couple of forts, yes.
Yeah.
But it's possible that it could happen, and that is a concern of mine. Thank you, Ms. Mandel. Motion to close?
So moved. Second.
Motion to close by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Going back to Councilwoman Hurtak.
File number AB 2-22-18, ordinance being presented for first reading consideration. An ordinance approving a special use permit, SU2, for alcoholic beverage sales, large venue, consumption on premises and package sales, off-premises consumption, and making lawful the sale of beverages regardless of alcohol content, beer, wine, and liquor, at or from that certain lot, plot, or tract of land located at 3924 West Spruce Street, as more particularly described in Section 3, providing that all ordinances or part of ordinances in conflict are repealed, repealing ordinance number 2019-92, providing an effective date.
Motion made by Councilwoman Hurtak, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. Roll call vote.
Viera?
Yes.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Hurtak?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Goulds?
Yes.
Central?
Yes.
Citro. Motion carried unanimously. Second reading and adoption will be held on November 17, 2022 at 9:30 a.m.
Thank you. Agenda item number 7, file number AB 222-19.
Annie Barnes, Development Coordination, file number 7, or item number 7 is file AB 22219. The request is for a large venue, beer, wine, and liquor, consumption on premises, and package sales off premises consumption for property located at 450 Channelside Drive. The AB sales area is 15,879 square feet, which includes both indoor and outdoor uses. It is already previously approved for a large venue, beer, wine, and liquor on-premise consumption only, back in 2014, but it was a smaller AB sales area as well. The total occupancy is 735 people, and the proposed special use requires a distance separation of 1,000 feet from residential uses, institutional uses, and other AB sales establishments. The applicant is requesting 3 waivers to these distance separations. The residential use is 65 feet, as well as the AB sales, and the institutional use is 378 square feet. Therefore, Development Coordination found the request inconsistent. Shown here is the site directly north of Amalie Arena. Shown here is the subject site, currently under construction. And looking north and south and west and east of the site. That concludes my presentation. I'm available if you have any questions.
Any comments or questions? Seeing none. Petitioner. Petitioner? Oh. Didn't get sworn in. Petitioner, are you there?
Please unmute
Maribeth
yourself.
Lewis? Fred Kyle?
I'm here.
Please
Okay,
raise,
can you raise your right hand to be sworn in?
do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. My name is Brett Maschak with Nunco Inc., located at 208 Brantley Harbor Drive, Longwood, Florida, 32779. I'm here representing Yard House this evening. We're here proposing a new Yard House location, a venue for good food, good atmosphere, music, and beer. We're well known for our over 100 taps on file, and we're looking here to expand this and build into the water district and be a part of that venue. We feel that we meet the requirements in this area because since it's a mixed use development, it's, you know, you're going to have some areas where you're closer to residential and other uses, but that's what makes it a vibrant location for people to mill about and be a part of. So I'm here to answer any questions you might have in regards to this site.
Any comments or any questions? Seeing none, is this a restaurant?
Yes, it is a primary restaurant. Liquor sales at Yard House location generally are only in the 30%, 35% range, depending on location.
So you craft your own beer and you distill your own liquor?
We do not distill our own liquor. We have agreements with companies to have beer made for us. We do not make anything on site, but we do have local beers, national beers, international beers on tap with a revolving chalkboard selection that, you know, is generally local areas and stuff to try, and we pride ourselves on having all varieties for anybody who likes them.
And you're going to be a package store?
Where package per se is essentially the ability to be able to sell drinks with to-go orders, delivery orders, such as that, as the governor has started allowing with restaurant sales. So that's essentially what it is. It's not for buying bottles of alcohol or such like that.
I don't know. Ms. Johnson Velez, was that just during the pandemic? Or it's permanent now? Okay, my confusion. Any other comments or questions? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this? I am sorry. I can't actually, yeah, I can. Outdoor amplification.
Yes, there are speakers outside for the music and for certain sporting events that they may have on the TV.
Okay, and what hours of operations are you going to, are they?
They have not officially set, but usually the hours of operation are Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 11:30 p.m., and Friday and Saturday from 11 a.m. to 1 a.m.
Ms. Barnes.
Annie Barnes, Development Coordination. The applicant has stated that it will be consistent with Chapter 14, the hours of operation.
Which is?
I have the sheet here.
7 to 3 in the morning.
Yes.
So, restaurants, ending at 3 a.m., 7 days a week.
Ending at 3 a.m. Sir?
Yes.
You left. I can't see you any longer. Thank you. Are you adding a stipulation to the hours that you mentioned?
We will not be, yes, those hours are fine for us. We will meet those required hours.
May I ask, which hours are fine for us, sir? The
Thank
one
you.
that you mentioned or the one that was read?
The ones that were read.
Okay, thank you.
You thought I was sleeping.
Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to agenda item number 7, file number AB 2-22-19.
Susan Johnson, Velez
Susan
Legal
Johnson
Department.
Velez.
I am not a member of the public, but I did want to clarify the state law that allows for liquor sales to go that was started pursuant to executive order during the pandemic and then was codified in state law. We've determined previously that there's no need to have, the off-site consumption or package sales approved in order to exercise, the ability to sell or have to-go sales under state law. As long as you comply with the state law requirements, there are a number of requirements in terms of where the alcohol has to be when you take it out of the restaurant and what kind of container it has to be in and so forth. And so as long as you comply with those, it's not necessary, I don't believe, to have the package sale ability in order to do if what they're intending to do is what is described.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Johnson-Velez? Move to close. Second. Motion to close by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Vieira. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Councilman Goods.
AB 2-2219, ordinance being presented for first reading consideration. An ordinance approving a special use permit SU2 for alcohol beverage sales, large venue, consumption on premises, and package sales, off premises consumption, and making lawful the sale of beverages regardless of alcohol content, beer, wine, and liquor, at or from that certain lot, plot, or tract of land located at 450 Channelside Drive, as specifically described in Section 3, providing that all ordinances or part of ordinances in conflict or repealing ordinance number 2014-91, providing an effective date.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Good, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Councilman Moran.
The music part, is it going to be the same as the liquor part, or is it going to stay open?
You want to reopen?
Yes, I'd like to have reopened.
Motion to reopen the hearing by Councilman
I don't mean anything, but.
Miranda, seconded by Councilman Vieira. All in favor? Aye. Sir, you have a question
Yes.
for Councilman Miranda.
The music would be played while we are open for business. It's a soundtrack that we run during the course of the day, and it's put together by the manager and teams specific to each restaurant. I would only anticipate us being open past our normal business hours if there was some kind of special event that would bring that about.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
So you're saying the outside amplified noise would go on until 1 a.m.?
We generally have our music on while we are open, yes.
Annie Barnes, Development Coordination. I just want to state for the record, Chapter 14 hours, it's open till 3. However, if you'd like to add a condition to the site plan regarding amplified sound, that can be added between first and second reading.
Councilman Good.
All right, is this a sports bar, sir?
Yes, there are sports on TV.
So, we're playing like a lot of, just your top 40 music, we're just playing a little small music just for the sports fan, or what are we saying here?
Generally, it's classic rock and modern rock. So it's a full genre of music from times gone to current.
I'm just trying to get a grasp of, I know what sports bars do, and sometimes when you're down in Channel Side, you got Amity down there, so I'm just trying to visualize what you got going on.
Well, we don't consider ourselves a sports bar. We consider ourselves a restaurant gathering place that serves beer and has sports on TV.
Okay. All right.
Let me go to Mr. Shelby.
Yeah, I can. Yes, if that is a concern, and I don't recall specifically Ms. Barnes' presentation, but did you look at the surrounding areas in terms of what surrounds them in order to make a record, just if you do have any concerns?
May I ask? And I do. Let me go to Councilman Carlson. Councilman Carlson.
typically in these situations, Mr. Chair, you're the one that makes the motion to limit the outdoor amplified sound to like 10 or 11, and you didn't do that. Did you get some legal counsel not to do that? Are we not allowed to do that?
No,
That neighborhood in particular.
I'm waiting, if you're gonna want my opinion when we go to the motion and discussion, then I'll give my opinion.
I didn't propose it because I thought you were, but typically in these cases, we do that. Channel District is a neighborhood, and when we know that neighborhood doesn't like late night sound outside.
And I'll be giving my
Yeah, okay.
opinion then. Councilman Miranda.
When the gentleman said that he's a restaurant, I would imagine then the restaurant's open as long as the bar's open? For dinner or for
Yes.
takeout? Pardon me?
The restaurant, food will be served until the restaurant is closed.
I didn't say that. What about no, not the restaurant's closed. You're trying to put words in my mouth. I know you're not trying, but it's coming out that way. If the restaurant, if you're selling alcohol past 1 o'clock in the morning, which you want it to 3, that means that the bar's gonna close at 1 or is it gonna close at 3?
If we're selling alcohol past 1, the bar would still be open.
I know
But
the
at
bar's
the
gonna
same
be
time,
open.
if the bar is open, the food service would be open.
Thank you very much. I got the answer.
Councilman Hurtak.
Can we see the site plan of this? Well, I had a question about, I wanted to see the site plan because I remember seeing this when I looked at it, but I was hoping to see the site plan again today because my question has to do with how much outdoor area there is and in what direction it faces. What are we looking at here? Do we have like a terrace, like a patio?
So there's elevations as well. So this is the elevations that were provided by the applicant. This is the east and west. And this is north and south. And then, unfortunately, I don't think the Elmo backs out. Yeah. The Elmo does not back out enough for me to show you the site plan, but there should be a copy, and I have a copy as well.
Yeah, I have a copy. I guess my question, as I'm looking at this, is it looks like there's a covered bar patio and then an open air patio, and then something called a forecourt, which I don't know what that is. Is that covered or not covered?
Annie Barnes, Development Coordination, so the total indoor area is 11,837 square feet of AV sales, and the outdoor area is 4,000. I do believe that there's someone here from the restaurant as well, another representative. I don't think we have a authorized agent form, but as public comment.
Oh, it's open, so. Okay, I'll go back. Are you okay?
Yeah, I mean, if Councilmember Carlson doesn't make the motion, I'll make the motion to limit auditory. Sorry.
Sir, would you like to make public comment?
My name is Richard Renninger. I live at 654 Riviera Drive in Tampa, Florida. I am also Chief Development Officer at Darden Restaurants, which is responsible for the Yard House. So I could add some, I was not planning to speak, but since some of your questions, I can tell you that we have 80 restaurants. This would be very similar to the 80 restaurants. The only times that we're open later than our typical hours is if Amalie or something adjacent had a much bigger event. Then we don't drive events, we don't have live music, we don't have things that make, we are generally a restaurant like it was described. The particular piece that makes it a bar is we have 100 on average taps, so you can get local beers, lots of things like that, but our chef-driven food is much more the driver of the business. We do have sporting events on, but we're not a sports bar. I would tell you that the culinary piece is much more what drives our business. We are adjacent to many large sporting events across the country. LA Live would be one, the Braves Stadium would be another, and we work in harmony with those. That's our landlord here as well, and we work in great harmony with those. We're not louder or larger or outside of those events. So we don't drive that. We're a participant, I guess is the best way, much the way the cigar bar is across the atrium at the Amalie Arena.
Councilman Goods.
You say you're a Darden restaurant chain?
Darden Restaurant owns us, and Yard House is the brand that would be here.
That's a good chain.
Any other comments or questions?
Yeah.
Councilman Carlson.
I've been in the one in Orlando. I won't testify anything, but I've been in the one in Orlando. My question is, if you look at the plan, it's really big on the inside, but the outside space is smaller. Can you tell us how often you activate the outside space and what it's used for?
Yeah, the smaller outside space would be a patio when the weather is appropriate for that. And then the larger, when you have large events, is the only time that we would use kind of all of the outside space. So it's meant to be indoor, outdoor, not indoor, outdoor, but almost like a park area Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock. And then when there's an event and you have people all over the place, that's when you use the larger area.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
But that still doesn't answer the hours of operation versus the music. We don't know that. They never give us a definitive answer. I can't make a motion. They have to make the motion. I don't know what they want.
I could speak to music if you'd like to. It's internally focused, the speakers. They're not for outside. They are loud enough for our guests. We're not trying to drive music or drive people to the place with our speaker system. So it's appropriately sized so that you can hear either a game or music while you are in our facility.
Let me clarify what I heard. That means that the amplified music outside does not go outside, it's just inside?
It would go to the sidewalk outside, but 2 blocks away you would not hear it.
Well, that depends on the wind and what kind of weather you
Correct.
have also.
But it is not meant to be heard more than on our property. That's not the goal, that's not the way it's set up.
Ms. Johnson-Velez.
Susan Johnson-Velez, Legal Department Counsel. I just want to caution you, I know we're talking about a specific brand now and a specific restaurant, company, but again, this wet zoning is going to, or AB permit is going to travel with this property, and so whatever limitations you impose or fail to impose are also going to travel with this property regardless of who the operator is in the future.
IT, forgive me for doing this. Applicant, I'm not facing you, but you can still hear me, can't you?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
What'd you say? I didn't hear you.
Any comments or questions? Councilman Carlson.
Do you typically, in situations where facilities like this are in neighborhoods, we ask the applicant if they would be willing to limit the outdoor amplified sound to 10 or 11 o'clock? Is that okay with you all, or is that burdensome?
If our hockey team is playing on the West Coast past 11 o'clock, that would be a problem. But I don't think that it would be, I think there's a decibel level that we could agree to or something like that so that the noise is not that loud. We don't have problems or comments at any of our locations about noise. It's never been a challenge.
Any other comments or questions? Motion to close by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Vieira. All in favor? Aye. Councilman Goods, you still have your motion on the floor.
On the floor.
Seconded, who was it seconded by? Councilman Maniscalco. Roll call vote. Excuse me, any further discussion? I can't support this. I apologize. No, I don't. I can't support this. The major hall across the street, 9 times out of 10, closes at 12. And they usually, I'm not giving evidence, but I would suppose that they wane off their alcohol, liquor, and beer sales at a certain time. When I was there, I can't support this. We're having enough problems down in Channel Side with amplified music. I don't think we need to add to this. And I personally don't think they're another package store needs to be down there. That's just my opinion. Any other comments?
Ms. Johnson-Velez, can we, sorry I'm confused if we changed something, but are we allowed to add that, the limitation on outdoor amplified sound or not? Does the applicant have to request it, or can we put it on here, or is it just straight up or down on this?
You can add, you know, right now, there's the noise ordinance, we've got, it's kind of in limbo, so typically you ask the applicant if they're willing to agree to it, but
I believe Councilman Miranda did that.
And I would remind council that they are seeking 3 waivers. The distance separation is being requested to be waived from 1,000 feet down to 65 feet, and that's the distance separation from this establishment to residential uses. And so certainly council is entitled to consider whether or not that's compatible or whether or not the waiver's been justified.
The hearing's been closed, is that correct?
Yes, it has.
Okay. Well, if that's a subject that council wishes to explore, it'll have to open the hearing just because you need to have that on the
Yes,
record.
is there a request to open the hearing? No, I didn't make the motion. I said, is there a request to reopen the hearing? I'm sorry. Councilman Vieira, motion made by Councilman Vieira, second by Councilman Carlson. All in favor?
Aye.
So do you want me to, Susan Johnson-Velez, Legal Department. So my answer was typically, because again, the noise ordinance is still in flux, excuse me, there's no limitations on outdoor amplified sound currently in the code. And so typically you would ask an applicant if they would agree to a condition that would limit the outdoor amplified sound. I did also remind council that this application is requesting 3 waivers, one of which is to reduce the distance separation from residential uses, which is requesting to go from 1,000 feet down to 65 feet. I'm sorry, council, if I could just, this is also this area, although it is, you know, kind of near the edge of the 2 districts, this is within the arena district where sound is measured on a decibel level standard, and so that maximum decibel level, again, is 87 decibels.
Mr. Shelby.
Yes, and council, I'm going to direct your attention to the staff reports, particularly the staff report of this case, and direct your attention to the general standards under 27-129 with regard to this, as well as Ms. Johnson-Velez stated the requirement of meeting the necessary requirements for the granting of a waiver. So I would direct your attention to that in your determination and to apply the code on your decisions based on that and not on any necessarily outside evidence or evidence that you may have of personal knowledge yourself. And if you have any particular questions as to the surrounding area, you have the hearing open now, and now's your opportunity to ask Ms. Barnes. And if you have any questions of the staff report, you can ask Ms.
I
Barnes.
see you, Councilman Good. Councilman Good.
Ms. Johnson, as you said that this land is in the Arena District, correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
It is not in the Channel District,
It's
correct?
not in the Channel District, it's in the Arena District. It's directly across the street from Emily Arena, and we did check, Mr. Scott
All
pulled
right,
up
so it's the Arena District.
the code
which
section.
allows for different sounds in the Arena District, correct?
It allows it to be measured on a decibel level standard rather than plainly audible.
And this is not a nightclub, it's a restaurant, supposedly, right?
That's my understanding, is that it's a restaurant.
All right.
Yeah, just, we asked the question kind of indirectly, but just to ask the applicant who's on screen, would you be willing to accept ending amplified outdoor sound at 11 o'clock?
If that's the council's request, we can definitely abide by that. But
I didn't hear a yes or no.
And that would be a condition added.
Ms. Johnson-Velez, the distance separation, that is between residential areas.
Between
So,
residential, between institutional uses, and from other AB establishments.
so even though this is the Arena District, there are still residents living within that area, distance separation.
That would, Mr. Chairman, that would be a question that's best answered by staff with
Barnes can confirm
pictures
that,
or
but
with a
yes.
map or with whatever else is needed for your
The
record.
distance separation, not only is AB sales, but it is residential?
Correct, so it's residential, other AB sales establishments, and institutional uses.
Again, the point I'm trying to get to, residential. So just because
far?
it is,
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Just because it is the Arena District doesn't mean that it's just a Wild West show. There are residents there.
Correct.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, if you can, she didn't specify specifically the differences in the distances between the different categories of distance separation.
Annie Barnes, Development Coordination. So the request is to reduce the distance separation from other AB sales establishments from 1,000 feet to 65 feet. Residential uses 1,000 to 65, as well as institutional uses 1,000 to 378. However, it is my understanding that the the residential use and other AB sales establishment, the AB sales establishment is in the same building as the residential use, is my understanding. So it might be a convenience store or whatnot that has AB sales.
My question was just residential.
Yes.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Mr. Carlson, did you get, I'm sorry. Mr. Carlson, did you get your question answered about amplified sound?
Like you said, there was no clear yes, so I.
Okay. So unless you want to pursue it a little bit more, we'll go to Councilwoman Hurtak.
Well, that was going to be my question. I mean, do we have them saying that outside, no amplified sound after 11? If not, it'll be hard for me to support this.
Annie Barnes, Development Coordination, so that's currently not on the site plan. So that would have to be added between first and second reading.
Councilman Maniscalco.
Brett, would you accept putting on the site plan that you will end the amplified music at 11 p.m.? Or any
Yes.
amplified sound, I'm sorry. Outdoor.
Yes.
There you go. Thank you.
I get,
Councilman Goods.
I guess I'm a little sympathetic right now. I mean, I guess I'm a little sympathetic right now because they're right across from the hockey arena. And, you know, I look at all the other businesses around there, and I would hate that he's right. If they're on the West Coast and there's a game playing, it's going to be a little later than 10 or 11 o'clock. So that, to me, that'll be unfair to that business there. And I don't think they're really what they're doing is going to be a lot of problems we've been having. And I would hate their business to be hurt by we giving them a restriction and they're right across from the arena. That's a problem for me.
Councilman Maniscalco.
And I noticed in the images of where this property will go, no one mentioned that there's the Addition Hotel with a rooftop swimming pool that has a DJ that plays music, and that's all outdoor. Nobody mentioned that.
That's something else.
I'm just saying, it's there, so I think this whole conversation is overly complicated, but we, you know.
Again, I'm Councilwoman Hurtak, and I'll tell you my real reason.
You know, I wish we could divide between music and a game on. And I don't think we can, and so I tend to agree with you. I mean, this is literally across the street from the stadium. Which is why I wanted to see the site plan, because I wanted to see that the noise, if amplified, is facing out. I don't.
One of those great ones.
Yeah, it is gray, but I'm not. Well, yes, I'll support this without the time limitations, just because I feel that Councilman Goods has made good points.
Well, I cannot support it. That infringes upon package sales. I'll be quite honest with you about that. Okay, do we have a motion to close?
So moved.
Second.
Motion closed by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Goods. All in favor?
Aye.
Councilman Goods, does your motion still stand?
Still stand.
Councilman Maniscalco, you seconded. Does that still stand?
Oh, yes.
Roll call vote.
Miranda,
No.
Hurtak,
Yes.
Carlson,
No.
Goods,
Yes.
Vieira,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
She'll get it right. She'll get it.
Citro,
No.
Motion carried with Miranda, Carlson, Central voting no. Second reading and adoption will be held on November 17th, 2022 at 9:30 a.m.
Agenda item number 8, file number AB 222-24.
Annie Barnes, Development Coordination, AB 22224 is the request for 1602 West Snow Avenue. The request is for beer, wine, and liquor for a small venue, consumption on premises, and package sales off premises consumption. The total AB sales area is 3,324 square feet. I would like to make a correction on, or for the record, based upon this staff report. The staff report indicates 2,287 square feet of indoor area. I transposed two numbers, and it should be 2,827 square feet. The applicant is requesting a distance separation from other AB sales establishments for 250 feet to 0 feet. This property is located within the Hyde Park Urban Village. And the suite is about right here. This is the subject property, currently right here on the corner. It's directly west of the subject site and northeast and southeast of the subject site. Staff found the request inconsistent based upon the distance separation requested, and I'm available for any questions.
Councilman Maniscalco.
I thought this was, we had heard this years ago.
Correct.
Or is this an expansion of the original square footage?
Correct.
Okay,
So
thank
back on the staff report, it should have, it was previously, it was AB 22108, and they're adding additional square footage.
Okay, thank you.
Petitioner.
Good evening, Council. Colin Rice for the applicant, Boozy LLC, here with Liz Keller with our law firm, 101 East Kennedy Boulevard, Suite 2800, Tampa, Florida, 33602. You're correct. This should look familiar. We were back before you February of last year. And that's because this is really just a correction to a new and increased interior space. So I'll detail for you the changes, be happy to answer any questions. But this is a restaurant. The approved use existing is for beer, wine, liquor, small venue consumption on premises, package sales, off premises consumption. None of that is changing. All of that is remaining the same. Next. So just to orient you again, we're in Hyde Park Village. We're kind of across the street from Forbici on the corner of South Rome and West Snow. Next. And to detail the changes, this is the approved site plan in existence. So this establishment is going in, it's approved. But I want to point out for you the area in question here. We've got the existing approved space here. And in the next slide, we'll show you highlighted in yellow where we've expanded. And so the next slide, we're going to zoom in a little bit and show you the previously approved life safety plan. What we're talking about is this space here. And next slide. So in our proposed life safety plan, what had happened here is there was a ceiling height issue with the beam. It was too short. So what had happened along where Liz is pointing, that is unusable space as it's too short. So it has come in from the top left. And in reconfiguring this space, there was opportunity to go towards the garage predominantly for augmented kitchen space. The majority of this expansion is not going to be for occupant use, but a more robust kitchen and to take it away from the bar top area where it had previously been approved. Next slide. So this is the same business plan, the same design aesthetic, the same tenant. We just want to call out that just explain why the increase is there, the operational advantages inherent with this. Ms. Barnes did point out the distance separation waiver. This is the same waiver that had been approved previously. They're in the same building as Meat Market. There's nothing on the ground that has changed. This is sufficiently parked. There's a surplus of parking within the overall site. So with that, I respectfully request your approval. Happy to answer any questions.
Councilman Maniscalco.
Are you gonna have any outdoor amplified sound or music?
No. There is an outdoor space, but it's just dining tables, and it's not intended for.
Awesome, thank you.
Anyone else? Did you have package sales before?
Yes, sir.
You did?
We did.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to this? Seeing none?
Second.
Motion closed by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. All in favor? Councilman Miranda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 8, file number AB2/22-24. Ordinance being presented for first reading consideration. An ordinance approving a special use permit SU2 for alcohol beverage sales, small venue consumption on premise, and packages sales off premise consumption, and making lawful the sale of beverages regardless of alcohol content, beer, wine, and liquor at or from that certain lot, plot, or tract of land located at 1602 West Snow Avenue, as more particularly described in Section 3, providing that all ordinances or parts of ordinance in conflict or repeal, providing ordinance number 2021-43, providing an effective date.
Second.
A motion made by Councilman Miranda, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. Roll call vote.
Hurtak,
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Goulds,
Yes.
Viera,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously. Second reading and adoption will be held on November 17th, 2022 at 9:30 a.m.
Before we go to information and reports, Mr. Shelby, you handed us this paper. I'm sure it's for
Tuesday.
a discussion that you want to say anything concerning.
Yes, please, may I?
Yes.
I want to make this very brief because I don't want to take up the beginning of Tuesday's special call with this sort of housekeeping. This will be very brief, but I passed out to you, provided by the facilitator, revised as of actually today, the agreed-upon process that I wanted to share with you, City Council, so you have the opportunity in advance. She is aware of the process that's been adopted by council as proposed by Councilman Carlson, thank you. And that is the format that this will take place. I'm going to direct your attention for clarification. If you look at the calendar for November 1st, you will see there are 3 previous motions that were made for that date. And that was before that we had the facilitator signed on. And I don't want that to cause any confusion on Tuesday, so we can just roll that in all together. Or some of them can be struck. For instance, council, I don't know whether you want to make it a charter question as to what happens when the city council attorney is not available. We can change that to another date and not have that on the discussion on Tuesday, unless you think that's relative to the charter. The same for the other 2 items there. So we can have that all appear on the charter, but I just on the agenda. I just want it to be clear that everything will be rolled into the facilitated discussion, unless you feel differently, and unless there's anything that you'd like to take off, that you have the first. One of them that I'd recommend is a discussion about going off on a tangent as to the city council attorney. That might be done in a staff report at the end of a meeting and save time on that, but your call.
Councilman Maniscalco.
Thank you very much for bringing this to us now, so we know in advance, basically, a plan to follow, and I think this is very well organized. But as you mentioned, there are 3 items there on the calendar, and should we, and I think we'll get to it on Tuesday, if we feel it not necessary to discuss a certain topic, as you've mentioned, then we can put it towards a staff report, so we don't spend, we focus on the issue of the charter, and that's what we're here for, which is separate from the council attorney discussion. But sure, we want to have that, we leave it open, but these guidelines and the time allotment, which we can go on and off that, whatever, we have the facilitator. I think is very good. We have a structure for Tuesday, and we're not walking into this blindly where we don't know the protocols. So I think this is very, very helpful.
And so that the public knows, and this is the way it was noticed after discussion with the clerk, that the public comment is taken up front. Of course, you have the right to ask questions of anybody who's present at the workshop, as your rules would allow, and you can certainly amend your rules as you're finding them if they need to be. But I just wanted to be clear so we can get that out of the way tonight. I thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to do that tonight so we don't have to take up time on Tuesday.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
That motion was mine to discuss why or if the city attorney or other parties in the city should be available. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
They all rolled in at one point in time with the continuances.
Yes, but the reasoning I had the discussion about what happens when our council attorney is absent is because that goes to staffing. And that's in the charter that we can have an attorney, but I wasn't sure if it was more than one, and we had talked about getting an assistant. So to me, that is a charter issue, not the discussion of, but the discussion of staff for city council. And that was the reason that I added it to this particular, that I wanted it at this particular meeting.
Well, thank you for that explanation. I understand that exactly. Thank you.
Okay.
Anything else? Councilman Carlson, thank you.
Three things real fast. One, Marty, I think we ought to add the guidelines that we approved a couple months ago, which just say, each council member will present their ideas, and then there'll be an up or down. There'll be a short discussion, up or down vote, and then we keep moving. They don't have to. They don't have to be hour-long conversations. They can be like 5-minute conversations. The second thing is that there are three specific things that are listed here. But keep in mind that the beginning of number 2 is the broad discussion of charter amendments, and so then it mentions a specific one afterwards. But it's not the proposals. Everybody's going to bring their own ideas, and I imagine most of the ideas are going to get shot down. But the other thing I would say is that there's a lot of lobbying going on and misinformation out there. I would just ask my colleagues, the public, the administration. Nobody's going to approve something that's going to hurt the city. Let's all be open to each other's ideas and just hear what they are. And there's some things that we think we need to clean up. And it's not infringing on anybody's turf or threatening anybody. And it's not a power play about if these things get approved that it hurts somebody or somebody won. And so we should just have the mindset that we're here to help the public and make sure this government runs well. And if we think that we can help it to run even better, then we should approve some of these things. And even if we do approve them, we still have 1 or 2 more chances to change them. Thank you.
Councilman Goose.
Thank you, Mr. Carlson. Again, thank you, Mr. Carlson, for that rendition. I think you're right. A few of us sat on the charter review, and boy, we didn't know what we don't know now. I'm going to be honest with you. And with anything, as time goes on, things do change. You find out things that need to be changed. So let's not be so nervous that because it's election time, or we're going to offend somebody or hurt a certain body. But again, look at what's right for the people of the city. Things do change. And again, I know, Mr. Shelby, you do have some of our questions. I know you got a few of my questions. So
not everybody, I certainly.
Not everybody, but I know you got a few of mine.
No,
so
I don't.
that I'll have. And I think there are about 2 or 3. But again, I just want everybody to be in a respective place and make sure we listen to everybody and have an open mind to what some people may be proposing.
Councilman Vieira.
Thank you very much. And briefly, one thing I'd ask council members to also do, I've done this, is to see if the potential, and this may be for a very small minority of them, but for the charter ideas that you have, if they can be accomplished potentially by ordinance. I had one that I submitted forward that I thought was, uniquely for the charter, and apparently I was wrong. So just to double check on that, because maybe we can accomplish something outside of the charter, making it a lot easier and more efficient if the body wants to proceed. Just my thought.
And one final thing for Mr. Carlson, your proposal was proposed earlier than, it's actually several weeks ago, and you had said originally that it was to come back on November 3rd. I sent out a memo very recently talking about the timeline that it would take to be adopted. It would take a short turnaround time, but I believe probably the best time for first reading, and we can talk about this on Tuesday, it's on that agenda, would be December 1st for first reading, if there is anything the council chooses to go forward with.
Are we scheduled this already?
No,
Do we need to schedule it now?
no, that's Tuesday, if you choose to do it.
Okay, information and reports. Councilman Miranda.
None.
Councilman Goode.
Yes, I have one, Mr. Chairman. That's it. Tampa City Council give a posthumously resolution commendation to Senior Pastor Robert Fruster for his limited leadership and philanthropy to his community and his impact to the city of Tampa. He was tragically killed in a car accident, my understanding. He gave, in the North Tampa area, he used to give out all the turkeys and food at the big show in University Square Mall. So.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Goode, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor?
Aye.
Is that all, Councilman
That's
Goode?
it.
Thank you. Councilman Hurtak. Councilman Maniscalco.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I was at the Sons of Italy Hall the other day, and they had asked me if I knew anybody in the city that would be able to give them a commendation. And I said, I know a guy, and the commendation would be for Columbus Day, to be presented to the Sons of Italy. They have their Christopher Columbus section inside, and to present them a commendation for that. Also, I believe the lodge has been there since 1962, so they're celebrating 60 years there, but also their 100th anniversary is coming up. So all of that tied into one, and it's a commendation that I would just present on site to them at a future date.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Vieira. All in favor?
Aye. All right, then I have a couple of motions here. Number one, a request by the Planning Commission to remove TA CPA 22-12 from the adoption public hearing scheduled on January 26, 2023 at 5:01 p.m.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Vieira. All in favor?
Aye. And then I have a motion that Stephen Benson provide a staff report at the regular session meeting on December 1st on the West Tampa overlay code changes by the West Tampa CRA CAC.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Vieira. All in favor?
And if I'm wrong, is there a birthday coming up for anybody here next week? No? You sure? No?
Charlie Boy, your birthday?
No birthdays? No? All right. Well,
I'm going to be 28.
all right. A happy 28th birthday to Councilmember Miranda. Coming up. And that's it. Thank you.
Councilman Vieira.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Just really fast, I motioned that on January 10th, we can do this separately. We give a Tampa City Council commendation to Andrew Carter for his service in Tampa Fire Local Section 5-4, and to Darla Portman separately for PBA. They're both leaving their positions.
We have a motion made by Councilman Vieira.
January 10th.
Councilman Vieira, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor?
Aye.
And then really fast, I motioned for a report on better utilizing existing contracting and potential services for smaller construction projects that have a difficult time getting bids. For December 15th of this year, staff report, whatever it may be. A lot of times we get these small bids. I have this project out on, 9th Street for a sidewalk that's like $60,000, $70,000, and we can't get a bid. And it appears from the information that I have. So to see what available services, and I know I've mentioned this before, and Councilman Goods mentioned something to that effect. So just a report on that, if I may.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Vieira, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor?
Aye.
And then on Monday, I'll be presenting a commendation to the Tampa Bay Young Marines for Red Ribbon Week, if I may.
Motion made by Councilman Veranda.
Well, looking
Councilman
like I know.
Vieira, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor?
Aye.
And then lastly, if I may, and I briefly mentioned this, which is with the charter review, I was talking, I had talked about having a discussion on a city council charter amendment patterned after the 27th Amendment, which essentially says Congress is required that if it passes a pay increase for itself, that it doesn't take effect until after an election. Now, we wanted to talk about that with regards to the charter, but it appears we can just do that by ordinance. I'm not asking for an ordinance, blah, 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 just to talk about that, if I may, on December 15th of 2022 to have legal here.
Motion made by Councilman Vieira.
So I'll explain it if I may, sir. So long story short, I was looking at amending the charter to say that if Tampa City Council ever votes for itself to have a pay increase outside of inflation, not COLAs and all that kind of stuff, that it would take place after an election in the future, right? And I was looking at doing that under the charter, but it appears we can actually do that by a simple ordinance. So I'm asking for a report to come back in a discussion for that. Again, not for an ordinance by voting for this, you're not supporting it, just moving it forward. Yes, sir.
Just the discussion.
If I can, did that information come to you? I'm sorry, Martin Shelby.
City attorney.
From the city attorney?
Yes, because I inquired on that.
Okay, because that's a very interesting thing. The question is on the basis of that distinction, but I'll talk with the city attorney about that. And because it's very interesting that some things can be done by ordinance, and that may be a subject of discussion.
And if I may, that's why I said that, to inquire on any ideas that you have. I made an assumption that that would need a charter amendment, but apparently not, so that's it.
That's because a lot of times you've been wanting to do things by ordinance, but you told you couldn't do it unless you had a charter amendment.
Maybe I'm tired, who knows? There you go.
Motion made by Councilman Vieira, seconded by
Maniscalco.
Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor?
Aye. That's it. Thank you, sir.
Councilman Carlson.
Yes, sir, just one. I don't think that correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we've given a accommodation to La Gaceta for their 100th anniversary.
No, second.
And so, yeah, tomorrow night is the film by Lynn Dingfelder. I'm in my other job, I'm sponsoring it. I have tickets. I probably can't give them to you guys, but anyway, you guys should go if you can. But what I'd like to do is, I'd like to deliver a accommodation to them tomorrow night for their 100th anniversary. And if any of you are there, please join me.
Can you do it around 8 o'clock or right before? I'm gonna go to the Equality Florida event before, and then I'm gonna hop over. So if you wanna be together, you know.
I think the movie starts. It will be on there.
I think the movie starts at 7.
I thought it started at 8.
I thought it was 6:30.
I thought the movie started at 7.
No, the screening is at 8 o'clock. The event, the doors open before, whatever. Oh, whatever, I'll be there as quick as I can.
If any of you guys are there before the movie starts, we'll
Go to Quality Florida at 8 o'clock. Starts at 6?
I thought there was a cocktail hour. I don't know. I'll double check, but I'm gonna.
Okay, we have a motion made by Councilman Carlson, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Oh, yes, I do. Thank you. It's going to be a mouthful. I wish to present a commendation to Mr. Brother Robert Lambert, who is the Most Worshipful Grand Master of the Most Worshipful Grand Lodge of Florida, of free and accepted Masons, off-site November 12th.
Is he a deacon as well by any chance or no? No, okay. All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Citro, Chairman Citro, second from Councilmember Goods. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Anything else, sir?
That's it.
Move to receive and file.
Motion received and filed by Councilman Maniscalco, thank you. Seconded by Councilman Miranda. All in favor? We're adjourned.
Another movie.